Polygon's MATIC has been absolutely flying recently with some really rapid movements to the upside. In this video, we're going to be jumping down into the technical analysis on the MATIC to see exactly what's been going on and what I think is likely to happen next. As I get into this video, if you find it useful, you know what to do, smash that like button. I do appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all the notifications, and you will stay up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Okay, let's get right down into this one, right? So Polygon's MATIC, it's been on a pretty rapid rise ever since the DXY started dumping down quite a bit, which we can actually just go up to and check in my macro layout here. Let's go ahead and take a look at this quickly. Just whilst we're here, we might as well. Let's go ahead and find the DXY. And we'll get rid of that, bring it up into our daily time frame here, and then we can start to reflect on what's been going on. There we go. So you can see that the DXY has been coming down. Okay, so whilst the DXY goes down, cryptocurrency assets go up. Okay, so we understand that there's a relationship between these two things. If we take a look at it on the hourly here, and I come back out of this for a second. In fact, actually, I can zoom in and make this a little bit clearer right here. Okay, so you can see that we have had this move to the downside with the DXY, therefore cryptocurrencies go up. Now, this is just one of many factors in the case of Polygon's MATIC. Okay, Polygon's MATIC has also had a volume increase, and the volume increase has come from the back of this, at least I believe, the fact that there's some fantastic news circulating that Polygon's NFTs can be traded by 4 billion users worldwide, Facebook and Instagram. Okay, this is the idea that basically Instagram and Facebook will make accessible NFTs across the Ethereum-based Solana and Polygon on their platforms, and therefore 4 billion users would be able to trade NFTs, right? Which would be pretty big for both platforms. Okay, so we have to understand that there's some FOMO activity here, compounded also by the DXY, which also then drives the price to the upside. So there's a lot of factors, lots of things to kind of consider here. Okay, now one of the things I do want to kind of touch on briefly here is the fact that we are not in a bull run. Okay, and that's going to split opinions, and you know, you can do what you want with it. I'm just going to tell you the data as the data is read from my point of view here, and you can leave in the comments below what you want, and if you're rude, I'll just bin you off, and if you're actually delivering some kind of constructive criticism, that's great. But essentially what I'm talking about here is there isn't really any big money backing anything, okay? And so if I bring this up here, these are the Bitcoin whales, right? The Bitcoin whales have over 1,000 Bitcoin in their wallets, and you can see that they aren't exactly doing what you would expect in a bull market. They haven't been accumulating in this bear market at all. All they've been doing is dumping on the bear market, and they haven't bought any, right? So do we think that the big money has made a big mistake? Do we think the big money has come out of the market with no intention of coming in? Maybe they're selling nice and low only to buy back nice and high, right? That's the retail narrative. So yeah, I'll leave it there. I'm not going to dive into it in any bigger way than this. You can check out yesterday's video if you really want to know more about the kind of the ins and the outs as to why I think we're in a bear market and not a bull market. And it's pretty clear. So a lot of people saying that the bottom is in is just absolute nonsense, unfortunately. And there are some other people out there saying that we're not in a bull market, we're not in a bear market, and the bottom was in June, and we can go down into a new lower low. That's fine. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So I have no idea what those people are talking about. But essentially, I don't think the bottom is in. We went through this. Now, why do I talk about this in relation to Polygon MATIC? Well, MATIC is an interesting point. Specifically, this dashed line just at the top here. This dashed line is an invalidation line, okay? So we can see that we had this wick just here, and I'm going to zoom in on this to see how close we got, and I think we crossed it right here. Yes, we did. Okay, so we crossed this area. Now, 130.6, that is the dashed line. We've been talking about 130.6 for a very long time. We went to 130.71. Okay, now 130.6 is an invalidation of a 5-wave macro structural move to the downside. Okay, so if I could bring this up into our daily chart here. And on this daily chart, what we can do is we can see that we're tracking this 5-wave structured move to the downside. Okay, now we've gone up in such a big way, we can actually say that it's been invalidated. Okay, so it's not actually playing out like that. So it looks to me now like we are just a 335 structure, and I think that actually marks the end of this point, which puts the bottom down here, this local bottom, in June at at a really interesting point, 31.6 cent. Now, this does not mean that we cannot go down lower. This only means that we can't go down under a 5-wave structure. Okay, and this is an important takeaway because people will look at the 130.6 and validation, we're bullish, we're bear market, it's over, we're in a bull market now, we're going to new all-time highs, all of that kind of stuff. And it is sure it's possible that Polygon's MATIC could go up into new all-time highs. I don't think it's probable, but it's definitely possible, right? But I do think we've come down quite nicely. Then, of course, we've moved up, we've corrected down, and we're starting to move up again. And we're in these interesting kind of structures, right, where we could be coming to a bit of an end of this bullish time, and actually things could start to turn on us quite a bit. I don't think we're necessarily there just yet. I do think there's a potential for a little bit more room to the upside, and I'm going to go through that in a second. But essentially, the bigger scenario now, because we had some interesting low levels, right? We were talking about 23 to 15 cent, right? And they would have been really, really good for Polygon's MATIC, because now, instead of this, considering we don't have a trend structured to move to the upside, what we're actually left with is an alternative of 14 cent under a 1-to-1 ratio. This would basically look like this. It would go up here, down here, like so. Okay, so we still end up with a correction, but we're not in a 5-wave move, okay? Now, this is actually probably the best scenario for Polygon's MATIC not to be in a 5-wave move, because it does mean that we can then take a look at our position this side with these 5 waves going up, with 3 waves coming down, and an additional 5 waves coming up in the bull run next, which would put us at a really fantastic place for Polygon's MATIC. So I don't think the accumulation is over, but don't leave the video just yet, because I'm going to show you why not only do we think that there is more to the downside that is due here, there's some pretty obvious things that we need to be aware of, okay? So let's go ahead and bring the stochastic RSIs up, and I'm going to bring this over here so you can kind of see, right? We are overbought just here on the weekly, the daily, the 8-hour, the 4-hour. We're oversold on the hourly chart though, okay? And if I come up into the monthly here, we have got plenty of progression to the upside on MATIC, but for the other side areas here, they've got to come down, they've got to correct. And when we have these kind of corrections, specifically on this this weekly time frame, if I bring that back up here, you can see, right, we were up here when we were overbought, we went down to oversold over here, we went back up to overbought. We haven't really come back down in any significant way, we've just come back up to the overbought area here. Okay, so this looks like a big 3-wave structure on our weekly time frame. So we should be very, very nervous here. There's not a lot of momentum to the upside to be had. Now let's reflect on the volumes. Okay, you can see the volumes down here on this weekly chart. Okay, let's talk about when we're in a bull run, what the volume looks like. This is where we look like when we're in a bear market. Okay, do we have the volume like this to support us moving up in any significant way? Not yet. Okay, so there's very little volume in here in comparison to a bull market. We have a very overbought area, unlike when we were going into the bull market. Okay, now you can't see it on the chart. Let me bring this back down here. We were down here in oversold, and we continued to run up. Okay, this is where the volumes are really high and the FOMO is really strong, and we're pushing on up. Instead, what we've got here is we were barely anywhere when we started going. We were in a good place here, but we went straight to overbought and then cooled down. The volumes were nowhere near high enough to support us going further forward. So the big takeaways here are that we are so heavily overbought on all of these timeframes. Corrections are coming, but do I think they're happening anytime soon? Well, I think we've probably got a little bit longer before that occurs. Let's go into our hourly chart here and take a look, right? So we have this really good run to the upside. It does look like 5 waves we're ending on here, so 3, 3, and 5. Okay, so we're looking at 5 moves up here. If I go into this, it's basically 1, 2, I believe this is going to be 3, 4, and then up here into 5, right? To this effect. We've got 5 waves there, we have 5 waves there, and we're looking for 5 waves in our 5th wave, okay? So when we're taking a look at this, I think that's actually there, that goes there, and here. So I still think we've got one more wave in it. Okay, so I think we haven't finished our correction to the downside here just yet. It's possible. I'll leave it there for now. This may adjust in time though. And I would say we've got to at least come up to this area here of 133 to 138.8. That there would complete our 5th wave. Now that would be 5 waves inside our 5th wave and would mark the end of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, no overlap, just, and then 5. Okay, even if there was overlap here, I think it pretty much would be an ending diagonal anyway, which is why it's kind of diagonal in its shape. So essentially, it's a slight overextension on the 5th wave there, but otherwise, that there would mark the end of this entire structure, and it would be labeled a big A, B, and C. Like that. Okay, so still corrective, even though you got this really impulsiveness at the end here. It isn't driven from huge volume. It's basically just kind of the DXY with a little bit of FOMO from some good news going on here that's kind of picked up Polygon's MATIC a little bit further. But my estimates are that this might be an interesting place to think about what happens with the price next. Is this the reversal, 133 to 138? That seems to be a nice area I think I might be targeting. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens next. We had the same problem with 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗔𝗥𝗘 during the metaverse launch. It went up to close to all-time high and then crumbled all the way down to 2 cents, right? And 2.9 cents or whatever it was, and I was calling it out. 4.5 is what I was calling, and it went down lower than that. My point here is that it seems unrealistic. It seems almost impossible. It doesn't seem like in the moment that that's going to play out. However, from my experience, it tends to, and the retail investors tend to get wrecked as a result of it. I don't think the economic climate is anywhere ready for a bull market anytime soon, and I do think that there's going to be some bigger discounts that are due. Right now, this seems premium priced MATIC, and I definitely wouldn't be buying it at these prices until we actually have volume coming in that indicates to me that there's bigger price appreciation later. For me, if I were to buy it right now and in a hodl position, I would end up hodling this for a long time before I'd see any appreciation on that price, in my humble opinion. Guys, I'm going to leave this video right there. If you found it useful and informative, hit the like button. I do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then do go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all the notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Guys, with all that said, done out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.